Can foreigners get credit cards in South Korea? In this video, I'll answer that question. Most foreigners who have been in Korea for a few years know that just because you have a Visa or MasterCard from your home country, that it doesn't mean you can use it in South Korea. Online purchases like flight tickets can be difficult if the card is not from Korea. And this has some foreigners wanting to know more information about getting a Korean credit card. So, can foreigners actually get a Korean credit card? The answer is yes and no, depending on how long you've lived in Korea, how long you plan to be in Korea, and just basically the bank teller that you get. There are no laws that prevent foreigners from obtaining a credit card. However, whether you get one or not can be up to the bank teller's discretion. For example, if you've been in Korea for a few months, then you might not be able to convince the bank teller to give you a credit card because you haven't been in Korea long enough and you haven't gotten your paycheck from your school for long enough to prove that you are trustworthy and that you will pay on time. Additionally, if you have taught in Korea for almost a year and your contract is almost up, then the bank teller also might not issue you a credit card because you don't have that much time left on your contract, and they are afraid that you might use the credit card and not pay it when you leave. With that being said, I think there is a sweet spot for when you get a credit card in Korea. For example, I actually got a credit card with KEB Hana Bank, and I had no problem because I had been in Korea for about 2 years already, and I still had a good 8 months left on my contract for teaching. So they thought it wasn't too much of a risk to issue me one. However, my coworker, who also went the same day and same time to get her credit card, she was not issued one because she didn't have as much time left on her contract, and although the bank teller did not know it, she was actually planning to leave Korea after her contract ended. In Korea, there are some things that you will need to bring with you to the bank to prove how much money you make and that you are eligible to receive a credit card. The first thing you'll need is your alien registration card. And this shouldn't really come as a surprise because it's basically your ID while you're in Korea. Something else that you'll need is your work contract. And banks use this to determine how long you have been in Korea and how long you plan to stay in Korea. Some banks might even ask you for a certificate of tax payment to prove that you paid your taxes in Korea. If you don't already have a relationship with the bank that you're applying at, then they might ask you for proof of your paycheck just to see how much you make each month. In my case, I just went to the bank that I got my monthly wages deposited into each month, so they were able to see that I had multiple deposits and that I was able to pay for anything that I charged on the credit card. So what happens if you don't meet their requirements? Well, they might ask you for a guarantor. Similar to the system that we have in the States when you're trying to rent an apartment, they have this system in Korea as well. So they will ask you to bring a Korean person with you to the bank to sign on the application. And this basically means that if you don't pay your bill, then the person you bring, your guarantor, will be responsible for paying the balance. If you have to use a guarantor, it's important to choose someone that you trust and that will be willing to take the fall for you. But hopefully that won't happen. So if you did manage to successfully get a credit card in Korea, then there are a few things you should know about paying it on time and how to do that. So usually when you go to pay your credit card in Korea, the default setting is to just pay everything at once, rather than paying in small monthly installments. Although you can do this, it is much easier to pay the credit card when you have a checking account at the same bank. And this is what I did. So I just had them set it up while I was at the bank getting the card. And I didn't really have to do anything extra, so that was great. But you should make sure that you know how to get online for your specific bank account and your credit card, just so you can periodically check it and make sure that everything is being paid and everything's okay. One really unique thing about credit cards that I noticed in Korea is that you can choose to pay specific charges off in monthly installments. For example, if you get some dental work done that costs 500,000 won, which is almost $500 USD. When you're at the counter to pay, you can actually tell them how many months of installments you want to do. So they might ask you if you want 6 months or 12 months, and you just tell them what you want, and it'll automatically split up evenly into these different installments. If you're using a credit card and you forget to tell them at the counter when you pay, you can still change your settings online to pay for the specific charge in monthly installments. Although it is probably best just to pay everything off at once if you have a credit card, if you know what I mean. Although I don't have much experience with other banks in Korea, I really do recommend KEB Hana Bank just because they have really good service in English, and now I think they even provide your monthly statements in English so you can understand it if you don't speak Korean. Well, I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, then please like it and subscribe to the channel. See you guys later. Bye!